Thank you, Ivo. Thank you, Molly, for a great year with the emerging leaders. I'm speaking for a group with Roseanna and Sarah Herda on bringing Arabic, teaching Arabic in our schools. So if we want to prepare our students and young people for the future, for the 21st century, we've got to give them the tools of a global education today. Now, phrases like global education, making global citizens are sometimes used with maybe vague details attached. So let me be perfectly clear. Teaching second languages, world languages, is one of the most important tools that we can give to our young people in the 21st century to prepare them. In Arabic, the 5th most spoken language in the world, is one that Chicago should invest in. Now, it seems to me that in some ways, we have a bit of a contradiction in America. On the one hand, we're a profoundly multilingual society. There are 300 languages that are spoken in the United States today, and a remarkable number. 20% of households in the United States report speaking a language other than English at home. And that is a number that's twice what it was 3 decades ago. We're becoming increasingly multilingual. And yet, when we look abroad, America seems sometimes monolingual. Perhaps it's the massive popularity of American popular culture, movies, music, social networking, software, and so on, that makes us think that English is the global lingua franca, and we need not engage the world in its languages and other languages. To me, that seems profoundly wrong. On colleges, I'm a college professor at Northwestern, we see foreign language enrollments going down. The Modern Language Association charts these things, and we've seen a dip over the last 4 years, 8%, a huge number. Even while study abroad has become a rite of passage for many American college students, increasingly so. At my school, as many others, American students increasingly go abroad for a semester or sometimes longer, and they study in programs from Amman, Jordan, to Istanbul, from Paris to Prague, all programs I know intimately, in which the courses are offered in English. So we send our students abroad for this engagement, and yet they end up speaking mostly English. Not to say they don't learn anything, but there's an opportunity missed there, it seems to me. Chicago itself is one of the most multilingual cities in the United States. We have, of course, numerous populations, many of which don't even speak English even as a second language, as you may well be aware. We have daily newspapers in a variety of languages and weeklies in languages from Lithuanian to Spanish, of course, and Polish. We have an opportunity in our public schools and in our public education to match that multilingualism in what we give to our students. Right now, and so why Arabic? Why Arabic? Arabic, as I mentioned, there's at least 3 reasons that we want to propose, and as Ivo kindly said, download and read the report that I'm trying to give you some highlights from. There's at least 3 reasons why Arabic is the language that we're focusing on particularly. With 300 million speakers of Arabic, as I mentioned, Arabic is the 5th most spoken language in the world. It's the official or co-official language of 60 nations, but second only to English in terms of nations in which it's official or co-official. And that in itself offers a huge populations of the world in which American young students can engage and find avenues into engaging in a variety of ways. That means, to put it bluntly, for your children and grandchildren, jobs for kids in a variety of sectors, whether that is journalism, diplomacy, higher education, finance, or the government, of course, as well as, and this is the faith we give in young people, all of the areas in which we haven't yet thought in which young people might find jobs and employment and innovation that they might explore. So with a huge part of the world speaking Arabic, that's one reason that we encourage this investment. Secondly, and in the Chicago Council on Global Affairs, Ivo mentioned a number of programs which will engage, and my colleague Andy mentioned the consistent interest that we have in US Middle East relations. We are now decades into conflicts and misunderstanding between the US and the Middle East. And it seems to me, as an educator, as a literature professor, as well as a director of a Middle East Studies program, that language is a window into understanding. you speak a language, you start to have a way to understand not only people themselves who might not speak your language, but a system of thinking. And Arabic, with its richness, with its cultural richness, its linguistic richness, and its grammatical fascination, is an example of that, profoundly so. We've lost too much time and too many lives and missed opportunities from decades of misunderstanding. And it seems to me and to our group that investing in the next generation to help us solve some of those problems, as well as the benefits that I mentioned, is a good investment for our future. And finally, even for those students who don't achieve the fluency in Arabic that would allow them to solve these problems or create these opportunities, we know that studying complex languages and second languages is good for all students. Numerous studies by educators have looked into any possible permutation of this, from creativity, mental flexibility, success on standardized tests, including verbal and math tests, that students who've studied at any level a second language do better. Engaging with complex thinking helps the brain. It cognitively develops the brain. So these are some of the reasons that we highlight in why to turn this way. Now, the good news is that Chicago has already made inroads in the teaching of complex languages. About a decade ago, some visionaries here in Chicago proposed the expansion of Mandarin Chinese in the schools. And today, it's exciting to know that there are 10,000 students in CPS, in public schools in Chicago, who study Mandarin Chinese. Remarkable. That goes all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade. So much so that it's made news in China. And in 2011, when Chinese Premier Hu Jintao came to the United States on a formal state visit, he made 2 stops, Washington, D.C., and you guessed it, Chicago. He had read about in the Chinese press, in Chinese language press in China, that Chicago was a leader in global education, and he came here. It was a big deal. Or as Mayor Daley said at the time, and I quote, a big, 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 big deal that he came here. This is good not only for our children then to engage with complex languages, but good for public diplomacy in a time period when that might not be a bad thing at all. We have already, this is the other part of the good news, some visionaries here in Chicago who've started down this path. We have more than 3,000 students in CPS who are already studying Arabic in the public schools from K to 12. They're located in 12 schools. 7 of them are elementary schools. 5 of them are high schools across the city. If you look at our report, we've kind of mapped them and showed you the neighborhoods in which they are. It's very exciting. On the elementary level, some of them are getting maybe an hour or 2 to introduce them to the language, but on the high school, they have a full curriculum. One of the schools, Lindbloom Academy of Math and Science, Lindbloom Math and Science Academy in West Englewood neighborhood of Chicago, has become one of the leaders, if not the leader, in non-heritage Arabic education. Non-heritage meaning where it's a completely foreign language, you don't have a parent at home who speaks Arabic. Lindbloom Academy has sent last year, this is a great story and also an important one for where we're going, a team of students all the way to the Arabian Peninsula, students who were not ethnically Arab, all the way to the Arabian Peninsula to debate and compete in a debate competition in Arabic against students from all over the world, including some who were native speakers of Arabic. It was a terrific story, it made the front page of the Chicago Tribune, at which point Mayor Rahm Emanuel wrote to the Center for Arabic Language and Culture, about which I'll say something in a moment, that this was a fantastic example of Chicago's global education, and there was much more room to grow. The Center for Arabic Language and Culture is a nonprofit that's based at Lindbloom Academy, run by Tyler Blackwell, who I see in the room, and is already coordinating the 12 schools in which there are these 3,000 students. It's a fantastic center. So we have a beginning here. Our report argues that we should do much more with this for the reasons that I've begun to lay out, that we think that we can get from these 3,000 students. Now 3,000, it's impressive, right? When I mention this to people, they say 3,000, that's kind of great. There are 400,000 students in CPS. So you do the math, and I'm a humanities guy, so I had to use my calculator. You get to less than 1%, right? We think we can get it up to 5%, or we have a plan, and we have laid out some of the ideas for what that might look like. And that would mean really expanding this quite dramatically, but we think that the timing is there. Chicago is a city known for its bold initiatives. Chicago is the only city, along with Boston, there are 2 cities that has 2 top 15 national research universities, both of which, University of Chicago and Northwestern University, where I am, that have major centers for Middle East and North African studies that have committed themselves to engaging with the public and engage with teachers in schools already. We have 3 other universities, we have many other universities, but 3 other universities, University of Illinois at Chicago with a very important cluster in Middle East studies, DePaul and Loyola that also have engagement in this area. And we think that together we can transform the way this crucial world language is taught and bring in a new generation to be global citizens. Let's think together, let's be transformative about the way we think about education in this city and making global citizens. And together I think we can do something pretty exciting. Thank you so much.